The year is 2025 and all-in-one racks are here to stay. This one here is the Mikolo Anubis functional trainer. It's a all-in-one power rack and functional trainer with a super narrow front to back profile. It has 3x3 uprights with 1-inch holes along the front and 5/8-inch holes along the sides. It's got dual weight stacks with a 2-to-1 pulley ratio, adjustable trolleys on either upright so you can adjust the cable height to whatever you'd like, a nice multi-grip pull-up bar, built-in dumbbell storage, pegboard storage, and a lot more. And it's only about $2,000, which is significantly less than the rest of the competition. But how well does it stack up? Let's check it out. So the first thing I want to talk about is a little bit of the build specs and build quality. It is a power rack at its heart. So you'll see it has these square upright tubes in this rectangular formation, just like all the other power racks you see around here. Exhibit A, Exhibit B. You'll see very traditional, big 3x3 post power racks. It does have 12 gauge steel, 1-inch holes all the way along the front uprights with the laser cut numbers every 2 holes. So that's how you mount things from these J-cups to spotter arms to any other sort of attachments. On the side though, they do have 5/8-inch holes, which doesn't allow you to mount some of the things like this on the side or other attachments. So just be aware of that when you go to buy this. Any other universal type attachments, you have to make sure it has a front mounting hole. Otherwise it might not work with this rack. It's meant to be used as a power rack. So you can put a barbell on here. You can do your squats. You can do your benches, anything you want. It actually comes with some barbell storage. I did not put on this rack just because of my space constraints, but they have things like a barbell storage tube they include, landmine, all sorts of different handles, landmine row handle, and just a bunch of things to really just make this a really inclusive all-in-one rack and be everything you need kind of right out of the box. The cable trolleys have a simple pop pin system to where you pull up the pop pin, and that actually also does align with these holes all the way up and down the uprights, the 5/8-inch holes. This trolley system helps it slide up and down the upright pretty easily. Again, it's smooth enough that you can do it with one hand and it easily locks into place. So just like most other functional trainer racks, you do have these swivel pulleys on the front that allow it to go out to in. This way you don't have to stand directly in front of it whenever you're doing whatever specific movement you have. A couple of things that do make this unique are also the multi-grip pull-up bar, which you'll see is knurled, has plenty of knurling all over the place and plenty of grip options all over the place, which is a nice touch, especially when it comes to power racks, because either A, you have to buy a pull-up bar separately, or B, it's just the really standard straight bar unless you pay extra for some sort of specialty. Also included with it, you'll see all the nice little name badge plates and their branding for Mikolo, and it's kind of meant clearly to mimic some of the more expensive rack versions like Rep, like Rogue, that have that big, bold branding on the back. Here they also do include some built-in pegboard storage. It's the same sort of square pegboard that they've used. For instance, I've reviewed their Falcon functional trainer in the past. It has this very same style of pegboard. It's not the greatest. These pegs don't stay in super easily, but it is very functional. And I do like that they include that because then you at least have something to store it on other than just trying to find a wall or some random thing on the floor. All these accessories are also included. Everything I will show here, from the cable handles, bars to the pegboards, nameplates, everything's included for their price. The other thing down here is this built-in dumbbell shelf. I did ask about if they are going to offer a la carte options for these because, well, I think this is a great idea and we see some other companies do this, add in dumbbell shelves or pegboard storage to the rack. As you'll see here, only 5 dumbbells fit, which is 2.5 pairs. So I have a stray dumbbell just sitting somewhere on the floor. For those people who have maybe like, 5 to 50 pound dumbbells or even a bigger set, I would like to see a la carte options for maybe 1, 2, 3 stacked in the back, all in one space saving footprint. And that's really what this is geared towards, again, is power rack and functional trainer all in this very, very compact footprint, which is ultimately the goal for most home gym owners. Now, moving to the weight stacks, again, it has these dual weight stacks built into the left and the right side. They are 154 pound weight stacks in 11 pound increments. It is a 2-to-1 ratio, however, so just know that when you max it out and have the full 154-pound weight stack, the weight you're actually feeling on the cables is half of that. That's not an issue for maybe a good amount of movements, and for a functional trainer that allows you both more cable travel and easier half increments in between the 11-pound jumps. Heavier movements, potentially like, you know, some sort of bench press, but especially things like a lat pull down and a low row, which I'll show you here in a second. That 154-pound weight stack, which is halved because of the 2-to-1 ratio, with no way to make it a 1-to-1 ratio, definitely makes this a little bit harder to max out as far as weight capacity. So for the low row, they include this low row foot plate, which is typically meant to be permanently mounted on this front post here. I have kids that are in here often, so I don't install the bolt on the back that keeps this on the frame. I just use the top pop pin knob to tighten it down when I want to use it. And I simply just take it off and store it somewhere on the side when it's not in use, which is nice then because then it doesn't take up too much space out of the front of the rack. Your trolley cable is the low row cable. And again, it is the 154 pounds. So you need something like a bare steel or stacked weight pin, which I'll show here as well. And then that way you can add up to 100 and I believe 35, which is 345-pound plates. Just know you might need like 2 of these in order to get an appropriate amount of weight on this low row. I do something like 150 pounds. That would mean you need about 300-ish pounds on here. But for strong people, you're gonna need even more. So same thing goes for lat pull down, as you'll see here. Although you would really like or need a 1-to-1 ratio for those, I did like their Mikolo Falcon functional trainer a lot because it had a way to convert a 2-to-1 cable ratio into a 1-to-1 cable ratio simply by connecting the dual cable carabiners that were at the front of the machine. This machine, the Anubis, has no way to do that. It is only a 2-to-1 ratio, so you're left with whatever weight is included on the stacks and whatever weight you can add on the side. As you'll see here, mine do not have any numbers indicating what the weights are, what the weight increments are. Yours will come with those, as I see from their website. I received one of their earliest production versions in order for the review here. That's not really their fault because they were trying to get this out for me as early as possible, which I do appreciate them accommodating me in my request to review this. Other than that, I think everything's pretty straightforward as far as this works. Really, my only complaint about this machine is the smoothness of the cables, which is expected at this price point. The price, by the way, is about $2,000 right now. I believe somewhere in $19.99 on sale. So you'll see that it is smooth enough. And I think if I didn't have anything to compare this side by side to, it feels completely fine. However, when I'm moving from this to my Rep PR5000 selectorized lat pull down in low row, or the X Mark commercial lat pull down on the other side, you'll definitely notice a little bit difference in quality. Probably the pulleys they use and the pulley bearings they use are a little bit different. The aluminum pulleys by themselves is not what makes it super smooth, but rather the pulley bearings, you know, the routing of the cables itself, the cable material itself, and a handful of other things that go into friction, like the guide rods and the weight plate tolerances and all those fun things. So real quick, I also wanted to go over the dimensions of this machine. Now, I'm gonna take my own dimensions because the ones on their website do include some of the attachments. The rack width, exterior to exterior on the front, is just shy of 49 inches. Means the interior is about 43 inches, 42.75 according to my measurements. The front to back depth is approximately 26 inches. So again, that's the outside. So counting for the uprights, that means the interior front to back depth is 20 inches. The overall height of the machine to the highest point is about 91 inches. And the pull-up bar itself starts at about 83 inches. Now you'll see I'm 6'2", so I can't get a full extension and range of motion on the pull-up bar, but it's still enough and tall enough for me to just tuck my knees a little bit. For the cable trolleys, the highest cable point is 76.5 inches, and the lowest cable trolley point is 15.5 inches. All right, so one of their other big advertising points with this rack is the spotter arms. They have 1,000 pound weight capacity, and that is due to this floor mounting style, which you'll see some more machines come out with recently. There's a pop pin. You can drop down the leg, and if needed, screw this down to be as tight and flat on your floor as you need, plus the double safety pin it has. So you can do things like drop 1,000 pounds on it. I personally don't do that or drop anything on here just because my flooring underneath this is actually wood that I built myself. However, I have seen my good friend Mark McGuire of McGuire's Gym do a drop test. I'll link his video below. So the last thing I want to talk about is this bench. Technically, it is not included with the rack, so just know this is a separate purchase. However, I did want to highlight this because they've told me they've made it specifically for this rack. This is the Mikolo Bastet adjustable bench. It is part of their new ecosystem to go along with this rack in the fact it is easily adjustable and has a lot of features and functionality, just like the rack itself does. As you'll see, it actually has in 10-degree adjustments from 20 up till 70 and then 85 degrees. The other cool thing about this is it's technically a decline bench because the actual rear height stopper here has a pop pin built into it. You can adjust this to different heights and move it past 0 degrees back on the way down. You definitely notice it compared to a regular flat bench because you're getting about that much more movement. When you want to do flat bench, put it back up to the highest height. Now it's fully supported in the flat setting. The bench seat has a couple different angles, which are pretty standard, 0, 10, and 25 degrees. The other main selling point for this bench is the adjustable back, which I will show you now. The very top of the seat is actually adjustable here. This can do now a handful of things. First, you can use the bench in a shoulder press version or other sort of movements with your shoulder blades having a little more room to breathe and arms a little more space to move. But more importantly, this is actually meant to be some sort of support pad where you can lock it in with this selector pin, all sorts of different pad adjustments for either things like a dumbbell chest fly, anything from a barbell seal rows. I personally like to do a chest supported bent over one arm row. You can do really just all sorts of movements and it gives you a lot more versatility, again, in your small space, which is the theme of this rack, which is the theme of this bench, is all-in-one functionality, not for a maximal price. It's usually about 2/3 to 3/4 of the price of those name brand competitors. It's a really good value as far as what you can do with this bench. And I like the aesthetics and just overall look and how they made it to fit and work in this little ecosystem. The last feature with this bench, which is the upright storage post. And boom, it is now stored in the exact same profile that your whole rack is. You don't need to store it anywhere else. So for a lot of people starting their home gyms or people looking for, hey, how can I just maximize sheer functionality for a small footprint and set myself up for some things that I might not need for the next few years? My bench can do a lot. It has a decline. It's super adjustable, modular. My uprights can do a lot because it's the 3x3 tubing with the holes, even though the side is 5/8 inch. And they did say that in future releases, they are going to make these all 1-inch holes all the way around. That will add to the modularity. They have told me they plan to offer more storage options like buying additional pegboard and additional dumbbell storage. You can buy their lat pull down seat, leg holders. They have all sorts of attachments that I think they plan to add to this ecosystem now that they have this 3x3 plus functional trainer. And overall, a lot of functionality for a good value. So guys, that's it for today's review of the all-in-one power rack and functional trainer called the Mikolo Anubis. Thank you for tuning into the Jungle Gym Reviews. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer or at least try. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Peace.